Welcome into Stanford Kind Talks. I'm Candy Olance, and today we have Phillip Enkey with. He is just with us. He's a wonderful musician. Phillip is a singer-songwriter. He writes and performs music with just a message of hope and resilience. And I found a wonderful quote of yours, Phillip, that says, "My goal is to leave a legacy of music that can help others to heal." And that is a beautiful, beautiful legacy to want to leave. So we're so happy to have you in today.
Thanks. It's great to be with you and to be on. I love Stanford Kind. I love what this organization does. So any chance to pitch in it's a pleasure for me.
That's awesome. Well, we know you've been in a few schools, and you're out there spreading just this message of hope. So for those that are listening that are not familiar with your story and how you got on this path, would you mind sharing some of your story with them?
Sure. So I'm a singer-songwriter from North Carolina. I married my high school sweetheart. We have 5 kids together. We live in Utah. And so now I write and produce music. I'm not a producer. I get my music produced from people much talented at that than I am. But I like writing songs that are medicine for me, songs that help me cope in my own healing journey, but also in navigating life's relationships and the ups and downs of being a human. And so getting to write that kind of music and then bring it to life through production and then share it with people is what brings me alive. And so that's what I do. I write music. But I love people. I love everybody. And that's the motto of my music is if no one else loves you, I do. And so everybody has a story. Everybody's been through something. And my journey has been beautiful. And it's been a lot, but it's wonderful. It's made me who I am. And so I get to write and make music, and I get to connect with people. And like you said, if I'm lucky, I get to get in a few schools every month with Stanford Kind and try and share more of this message of hope and love with as many people as I can.
It's beautiful, Phillip. Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
So I was born to really good parents, Joe and Janelle Enkey. When I was little, I was in a car accident with my mom and 2 of my brothers, and my mom passed away in that accident. I was adopted at 2, and had a beautiful life, been through a lot of things. I think we all have. And so, being in a new family and meeting new people and calling a new person mom, that it's interesting because, when you go through something, Candy, as you know, and anybody listening to this knows, you really don't know anything different, right? Until you go and experience the world and meet new people and kind of learn what's normal or what isn't normal. And so, in my life, I've experienced sexual abuse at a young age, faith crisis and transition. I found out that I had a sister I didn't know I had, that my mom gave up for adoption before she passed, who I didn't know existed until a few years ago. That's a beautiful story. Joined the Army. I've had 3 back surgeries. And all these experiences, battling addiction, battling through mental health recovery, and then, trying to keep my head above water and find love and find purpose and all the things that come with being a human. My journey has been, at moments, it's been tragic, of course, but that's part of life. I've also had really high highs. Like I said, I met my wife when I was 14. And she's been a huge inspiration for me. My faith has been huge in my life, and for me, the fun part, Candy, is hearing other people's stories and seeing the similarities, and then learning from other people. It's interesting being able to connect with more humans and hear how other people overcome, and incorporating that in my music. And so, my life has been beautiful. I have a beautiful life. And I'm really lucky. And so, I really can't complain. Life has been good to me.
Life's been good to me so far.
Yeah, that's it.
Reminds me of
Classic. I love the Eagles. Heck yeah.
I so much gratitude, and just radiates from you based on what you just said. You know, there would have been so much opportunity to give up or perseverate in the unjust things that that you experienced, but you have found a beautiful perspective, and it sounds like you also value others' perspectives, and you see the world through multiple perspectives, and so it gives you this just really grateful heart, I guess, um, or it seems to. So, and it sounds like music has been a big part of your healing. It's a big part of your identity. It's a big part of just everything in your life. And for those kiddos and teens that are listening who are looking for a way to express themselves, to heal, to make connections, share with us how and when you discovered your passion and talent for singing and songwriting.
Yeah, I love that question because I'm 35 years old and I've been doing music full time now for a little over 3.5 years. And honestly, 2 years ago, I couldn't really sing that well. Like, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, and
What?
that's what I want anybody listening to this to hear. 3.5 years ago, I worked for the post office. I had a mail route, and I I would sing at some open mics. I even auditioned to sing at a local restaurant here in my current hometown, and they said no thanks. um, in fact, I was told I was a little pitchy. And the reason I share that is I've always loved music. Music's always been. I remember from a little kid, coming into a new family, hearing songs that resonate with me. Um, there's a song called "We Just Disagree" that spoke to me when I was a little kid, and Alanis Morissette made some beautiful music. And I love "Fields of Gold" by Sting. Always reminded me of my mom who passed away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love Dave Matthews Band. Anybody listening to this, what I think is beautiful about my story, and I know a lot of people say this, but I really feel like, Candy, I am proof that if I can do it, literally anybody can do it, right? Like, I've always loved music. Music's always been a coping mechanism for me. It's been a way to escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I read there's all types of studies about retaining information, and one study they did was they found that if they got all these high IQ, highly intelligent people and presented them with information, but they couldn't take any notes. And
Mm-hmm.
what they found was even highly intelligent people were only retained 20 to 25% of the information. But then if you get them to start engaging and start writing it down, retention shoots up to like 40, 50% when they start writing it down. But then if you connected the information with an emotion and with an action, so they're engaging and they had an emotional experience with the information, the retention
Mm-hmm.
shoots up to over 80%. I mean, it goes out the roof, which is why I look back on my experience with music, you know, and I can see, singing these lyrics, right? Um, Can't stop me now, right? Like, like music is, and it's why I have a goal to create this musical medicine cabinet, as I want people who find my Spotify playlist, my YouTube channel, whatever they're going through, whether it's, loss or depression or addiction or abuse or, financial uncertainty or heartbreak. I want them to find a song that resonates with them. So, I've always loved music, but I shifted full time just over 3 years ago. And it was just a matter of believing in myself, even though other people didn't. And it was a matter of saying, this fulfills me and this brings me joy. And then loving myself enough to invest in myself, to get vocal training, to get business training on how to run a business. And so I've always loved music. It's always touched me. I remember singing in front of the bathroom mirror as a kid to Blink 182, all the small things, just rocking out in my bathroom. um,
Love that.
and then, yeah, a little over 3 years ago, I shifted to full time, and it was just a matter of investing in myself and loving myself enough to meet my needs and to have belief there. But I don't have a music degree. I strongly encourage education. I think education is empowering. It's enabling. It's enlightening. It can give you tools and resources to create the kind of life you want to create. But I don't have a formal education. I never went to school. I don't know how to read music, to be honest. So anybody can do it. And that's what I love about the message of my life is it's never too late. You don't have to be a certain kind of person. If you really want to inspire people, if you really want to have an impact in the world, then the first step, all you really have to do is be inspired. Like, go get inspired. And most people are doing that. Most of us are reaching, we're seeking, we're looking. With phones and social media, we are inundated and overwhelmed with information. And right now, more than anything, I think people are craving inspiration. They're craving wisdom on how to use this overflowing amounts of information. So the resources are all there, and anybody can do it. And the beautiful thing is every human is so different and unique, Candy, and we need these perspectives. We need you, right? Like there will always be someone who's faster, smarter, stronger, quicker, funnier, who can sing better, who can play and perform better, but there'll never be another you, right? And that's what I love about my line of work is when somebody says, and I've had this experience where even watching a television show or hearing a song where the actors or the artists didn't intend for me to glean from their art the message that I pulled from them. But it was because they weren't trying to be something they weren't. They were being themselves. And by being themselves, it gave me a little crumble of something I didn't even know I needed, And for me, that's good news. You just got to be you. I think anybody can do it.
That's finding the authenticity within self-love, self-worth.
Yeah.
A discovery.
Yeah. And I think, self-love is huge. And for a long time, I confused loving myself with liking myself. I thought they were the same thing. And something I've learned is, real love, actual love at its base, at its core. Love is seeing someone, really seeing them and seeing their needs and helping them meet their needs. It doesn't mean you're the one that meets the need. It doesn't mean you're the one that has the answer. But just seeing someone, really seeing them and feeling them and breathing with them and seeing what they need and then helping connect dots to meet those needs. That's love. And love can be expressed in meeting romantic needs, but it can also be expressed in familiar relationships. We all have these different types of love in our life, different people that we're connected to in different ways. But learning to love myself, that's something that my music has taught me, is it's seeing me and seeing what I need and meeting my own needs. And then realizing learning to like myself will come with time. I don't, if there's things about myself, or if there's somebody listening to this, if there's things about themselves that they don't like, that they're not, that they're they try and hide or run from or mask from other people, that's normal. That's a human desire to want to be accepted and loved. But really loving yourself is saying, I need food. I need water. I need friendship. I need someone to listen to me. I need warmth. I need information. I need education, and meeting those basic needs. And then in time, you'll learn to like yourself as you start to meet your needs. And for me, kind of music's always been a vehicle for me to meet my needs. And then hopefully, I hope that at some level, my music can help others feel that spark of feeling important, because Candy, when you hear a song and it hits you, right? And you get that feeling. Do you ever, maybe I'm crazy, but sometimes I find a new song and I listen to it over and over and over and over again. Right?
Yeah.
On repeat.
You're not crazy. That's a thing.
It gives us that feeling when you find something catchy or moving or inspiring, it creates that spark. And so that's my goal. I know that a song, when I write my songs, I write them for me. And one song isn't going to cure anything. One music video isn't going to cure cancer or fix poverty or feed hungry people. But my hope is that it can create a spark, right? It can create that emotion that can help someone make a decision. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what I really hope with my musical medicine cabinet, is that it can go out in the world and create sparks, if that makes sense.
It does. I think that's beautiful. And you hit on such an important piece. Well, there's a lot that we can pull out of that, but people need to be seen. Kids need to be seen. Teenagers need to be seen. They need to know that we really see them and appreciate them for who they are in all of, and I mean this for all of our flawed beauty. And we're worthy. And anyone that's listening that doesn't feel it, you are worthy of that love. You are worthy of being seen. You are worthy of the warmth. Um, and I think music, in my personal opinion, definitely can fill a void that someone may have. And it can be a catalyst to spark inspiration or to, especially through lyrics. Sometimes, when you're listening to lyrics and you really connect with a songwriter and you're like, oh my gosh, they just beautifully expressed what I haven't been able to put words to. And I think that writing piece is cathartic for you. And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Definitely, no, that is.
It is. And it's also like just such a beautiful way to, to share your light and your love with others. And when you're performing, and I've watched some of I haven't seen you in schools yet, but I've watched your videos. You radiate this light and this love to the people who are watching and listening. And when you're in person, are you feeling it? Are you feeling that love bouncing back, that light bouncing back? Are you getting it from the crowd too?
Yeah, I always look. I've learned over time that when I perform, if I'm trying to impress people, I tend to make more mistakes. I tend to not be at my best. Um, if my
You overthink it?
intention, what's that?
Are you overthinking it instead of it just like
Yeah, I
flowing?
used to, when I was new at this musician thing, every human, we're all just trying to meet our needs, right? Like every human, we all have these basic human needs that we want to meet. And as a musician, I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be heard, I wanted to be validated,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be accepted. And I was looking outside of myself for
Mm-hmm.
things, events, people to help me find something inside of myself. And once I realized that was backwards, um, if you're constantly waiting on the outside events or people to change something on the inside, you'll always be a victim to your environment. You'll only be as good as what's around you. And so over time,
Well
I've
said.
learned that I'm not trying to impress anyone if my goal, if my intention is to impact just one person. So when I perform, I'm looking for that connection and I'm searching the audience. And yeah, I look for the
Mm-hmm.
tears, I look for the eyes, I look
Mm-hmm.
for the people who have the body language when they touch their heart. Yeah, I love connecting with people. I love seeing the reactions because for me, I know it's not me necessarily that did that. There is something in them that's ready to change, that's ready to move, that's ready to be enlightened, to take a step forward. And my music in that moment perhaps has been a spark or, a light on the ceiling when they're trying to see something in their life. And yeah, I love that. I love connecting with people. And it's easier in person. When you see my music videos and you see me performing, before each music video, I always do a prayer and I always go into it with my intention being, all I see is this camera, right? And a crew behind the
Mm-hmm.
camera and lights and all this stuff. And so at first, my very first music video, it was difficult to be emotional at the beginning because I thought, how do I connect with the camera? So I really had to put
Yeah.
myself in this headspace that I'm looking into that camera, but I'm looking into somebody's living room or into somebody,
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the bus looking at their phone or in the car and carpool watching this. And so when I do my music videos, I try and imagine that I'm singing to someone somewhere who's looking for some kind of
Mm-hmm.
relief or release or hope. But then when I'm in
Mm-hmm.
person, oh yeah, Candy, I love it. I love connecting with people. I love seeing the emotion, hearing the stories. Yeah, I live for that. I love people, so the chance to connect is beautiful.
That's awesome. When you're writing your songs and you're creating your music, um, you're thinking, are you thinking a lot about the events in your life, how they were, how they turned out, how you want them to be? And how does that all come together to heal Philip, to fill your bucket, to leave that legacy of hope? How does that all come together for
Yeah,
you?
it's evolved over time. When I first started writing as a teenager with my guitar, it was just for me. And that was some of my,
Mm,
and that's when I first discovered I could write songs. Is I would actually, because I don't know how to read music. My brothers taught me to play guitar. My dad had a guitar sitting around the house. And then, we'd get on Google and look up guitar tabs. Um, and just learning a song at a time and then taking pieces from these songs that I knew. Like, here's a Jack Johnson song, here's a John Denver song, here's a Dave Matthews song, taking these pieces and kind of making my own. And for me, when emotion would come, I would want to give that emotion a melody, that emotion an expression. Um, and now I've evolved to a place, and I hope I keep evolving and growing, where the audience comes last. I try not to think about who's going to hear it. I just think about what am I feeling and how can I bring this emotion to life. Um,
mhm.
and so for me, emotions are the body trying to teach us something. Emotions are our subconscious bringing something to the surface to protect us or to provide something for us or to teach us something. And so for me, I'm learning rather than running from these uncomfortable emotions, deflecting or avoiding these uncomfortable feelings of sadness or loneliness or boredom or depression or loss. Maybe I should sit with them for a little bit. Maybe I should question them. Maybe I should be curious about what these emotions are trying to teach me. And by doing that, I can sit with them. And instead of running from them and being ashamed of them or thinking that I'm broken, that something's wrong with me, why do I keep feeling this? Or, my mom died over 30 years ago. Why am I still sad about this? Instead of asking those questions, saying, thank you, man. Thank you thank you to myself for being so diligent and consistent and bringing these emotions
Mhm.
back even 30 years later. Because for me, my personal belief is it's my spirit, it's myself, it's my higher self, knowing that there's still a lesson I have, that there's still something I can learn from this. There's still
Mm,
beauty I can
yeah.
draw from this. That even though I've lost something or I've lost someone um, who, I miss dearly and would just ache to have them in my life, this is teaching me what's important to me. These emotions are
Hmm.
teaching me what I really value in my life. And rather than
Hmm.
running from them, if I can sit with them and then to make music with them, to let them come out in a melody, um, and kind of let them have a voice. And by letting these emotions have a voice and drawing wisdom from them, that's how I heal. Forgiveness and healing is letting go of the emotional charge of these events in our life while retaining the wisdom that they bring. So whether you've lost
Yeah.
someone or whether you've gotten in trouble or whether you've, you know, haven't performed the way you want to perform or you feel like you don't really have anything to offer or you're not special in any way, whatever your emotions are, whatever your home state that you find yourself coming back to that is frustrating, that you don't like, for me, songwriting is a way to go to that space and instead of running from these emotions that You know, who was it that said an emotion buried alive will never die? You know, you
Wow.
can't run from these emotions your whole life. They're going to come out.
Hmm.
They're going to come out in
Hmm.
anger. They're going to come out in losing your temper. They're going to come out in acting out in an addictive behavior in some way. So thank you for asking that question. For songwriting, for me, Candy, it's honoring these emotions, hearing them, giving them a voice, and learning from them. And that's what Good to Be Alive is. That's what Stronger Than Yesterday, Can't Break. All these songs that I write, these are emotions. These are things in my life that hurt, but now I try and give them a purpose so that I can heal.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Giving them space, learning from it, not running from it. Because the longer you run from it, the more exhausted you're going to be. And, if there's a teen listening and they're dealing with some things, you don't have to do it alone. Find a trusted adult to help you learn how to sit with those feelings and emotions and process through them and try to build that grit and resilience from sitting with those feelings. Find a trusted adult to help you do that work, because it's worth it. And the investment in yourself, like you were saying, you got to love yourself. You're worthy of that healing.
Yeah.
And I think resilience, we're hearing so much about the power of being resilient. And what does it really mean to you to be resilient? What does that look like in your life?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that question. I appreciate what you said. Finding someone, right? Like finding someone to listen. For me, resilience is being patient with yourself long enough for the real you to come out, long enough for the real you to 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 show the world who you are and why you're here. You know,
Right on.
the Earth, the planet has been around for a long time. I'm not a scientist, and I don't want to step my foot into religion. But whatever you believe, the planet and the galaxy has been here for a long time, and we've been waiting for you. Like you just got here, right? And so whatever's happened in your first, you know, part of your life, whatever age you are listening to this right now, or whatever age anybody is, when they start to wake up and realize that there's someone, I think resilience, people that are resilient are people who start to see themselves. They start to see that they're worth it. Because, when you were a little kid, when you were a young child, Gabor Mate talks a lot about this. Your brain is developing and all these neurons are connecting. And your brain, we have years and years, thousands, so much evolution within us that our brain and our body is designed to keep us alive. And so, whatever kind of childhood you had, whatever the environment was, your brain develops defense and coping mechanisms. It develops behavior to deal with your environment. And so
Right.
people that are resilient recognize, oh, this behavior or this failure or my inability to produce or to create or contribute isn't an indication that there's something wrong with me. These are signs that my brain and my body has come up with some really brilliant and honestly effective ways to cope with my environment and
Mm-hmm.
my life. And rather than
Mm-hmm.
saying I'm broken or there's something wrong with me, resilient people say, okay, thank you. I've survived this far. Now I've got to learn
Yeah.
new tools. I've got to learn new coping mechanisms. I've got to learn new ways to deal with my environment, to process my past, to forgive myself and to forgive others. And resilient people know that that takes time and it takes practice. You didn't develop these habits or these thinking errors or these self-defeating behaviors overnight. You developed it over time with the desire to survive. And so when you're
Mm-hmm.
resilient, you recognize, okay, I need to be patient with myself. I need to practice. I need to give myself time. And so for me, resilience is a revelation that I am worth it. I am
Mm-hmm.
worthy. And I just got here 35 years ago. I just got here, right? And so I deserve it. And that's one of the best, somebody in my faith community gave me some like hard advice, like tough love kind of advice. And I apologized, and they said, "Oh, it's okay. You're worth it." Like, and I don't know if this is something they say to a lot of people, but in that moment, it just hit me, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am worth it. And that's what I love about music. As I think when you hear a song that's inspiring, when you see a piece of art of any kind, whether it's a painting or you're watching a movie or a play, or you see any type of ultra humans doing something beautiful and it moves you, and I think of Lord of the Rings, right? When Sam is with Frodo
Fan.
and he's like, "I can't carry
Uh-huh.
the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you." And he lifts him up and he takes it. There was no Sam, like there was no Frodo and Ring and Mordor, but witnessing this beautiful act of a human loving another human and these two humans sacrificing for other people, it moves me. And that for me, I believe, is evidence that I can feel this level of love. And so that's, I think, anybody who's searching for proof that they're worth it, um, you really have to ask yourself, have you ever been moved? Have you ever been inspired? Have you ever been emotional because you saw or felt or experienced something beautiful and selfless?
Mm-hmm.
If you have, that is evidence and proof that you have the capacity and you have the potential within you to experience this as a human. That is proof that I can't deny. That means you or I or anyone who experiences those emotions is worthy. In that moment, you felt that goodness, right? You felt that light, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, regardless of your background or anything like that. If you've experienced goodness and inspiration, that means you're worth it. And resilient people, I think, recognize that. They catch that pattern that I'm not a broken person who does good things every now and then. I'm a divine being. I'm a beautiful, I'm worth it. I'm worthy. And so now I just need to take the time. I need to find the help. I need to find the resources. I need to learn the tools to overcome these old tools that don't serve me anymore and develop these new
Mm-hmm.
skills and tools that can help me produce to the level I want to produce, to contribute to the level I want to contribute. And the good thing is with resilience is like, as long as you don't quit, you will win. Like, as long as you don't give up, you're on your way. Like, that's success. That's healing. Healing and success isn't an event. It's a process. It's a state of living. It's an act of being, right? Just by not giving up, by performing even though you make errors, right? By submitting even though you don't get picked, by auditioning even though you don't make it. That is success. That is healing. That's resilience. And anybody.
All those things are such a beautiful investment in yourself. Even if it doesn't work out, like you're saying, you're investing that time in yourself. And even in the darkest of times, if you can find some light, something to be grateful for, some beauty in the world, it can really pull you through.
Yeah.
You know, you know that really well. And I just have to say, best BFF in literary history, Samwise Gamgee. Hands down.
Yeah. You can't beat him, man. Yeah.
Cannot beat Samwise Gamgee. Oh my gosh, I've said this a zillion times. We read a lot of fantasy, and I love Lord of the Rings. So
Oh, yeah.
I love that you pulled that in.
Of course. Oh, yeah. I love that.
So many wonderful points you made. But just stay on the path and just keep trying and don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. You are worthy. Times may seem or feel very heavy and very dark. Just don't give up. You're worth taking one more step. You're worth making a call for a friend to come help. You're worth that investment. And the more you do it, the more resilient you become. And like you said, Philip, you build an emotional toolbox to be able to go within and look within and go, okay, I don't necessarily need external validation. I know I've got it within me. I believe in myself. And sometimes, there are people maybe in your life that try to strip away that worthiness, or they try to blind you to your worth or your resilience or what, you're not worthy of love. That's wrong, because you are worthy. And, you know, you might have to dig real deep inside to find it, but you're going to come out so strong on the other side, and you're going to be a beacon of hope and light for all those people around you. They're going to see it. They're going to see that love. They're going to see that resilience. So just keep going. Just every day, keep going.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, and you know, that emotional toolbox, like we all need coping skills to get through dark moments. Because you're saying that this fight or flight is deep within our DNA, and our body is trying to protect us with fight or flight. And when we feel anxious, it's perceiving some sort of danger or fear. What kind of coping skills have you found to be really helpful in the tough times?
Yeah, so for me, it's about learning to be curious about these emotions, these feelings. When you get that fight or flight impulse, right? Like there's a whole physiological response that your body goes into. And so for me, one practice that's really helped me shift, it's one of my most useful tools, is to question these emotions, question these moments when you find yourself in fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
It's to really question them and to identify them, to give them to speak to it, right? Like so, for example, one time I was supposed to get new windshield wipers on my uh, no, it was the it was the headlight on my car. I had gotten pulled over because the headlight was out, and I was like, "Oh dang, I got to get that fixed."
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife messaged me, and she was like, "You need to get remember, you should stop by AutoZone and get the headlight replaced." And I started like at the time I was in a rush and I didn't want to do it, and I started to feel like frustrated. And I called my
Mm-hmm.
wife because I was worried about something else. And then she brought that up. And in the moment, I started to get like, have you ever been frustrated? And if you write it out all on paper, you're like, why am I mad? Like,
Yep.
what am I even frustrated about right now? Why? And you're almost a part of you is like, why don't you guys just read my mind? Can't you see I'm angry or I'm scared or I'm frustrated? And so what I did was I said, I literally pulled the car over. And this is something my coach, Stephen Nibley, had taught me, is to question these. And I said, okay, what am I feeling? Like, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling angry. I feel mad that my
Mm-hmm.
wife asked me to go get the headlight replaced. Okay, well, why am I mad that she asked me to do this? Well, I'm mad because she's telling me to do something I don't want to be told what to do, and I don't want to go get the headlight replaced. And I thought, well, why don't I want to go get the headlight replaced? Well, because if I go to there, I got to go to this place full of guys, and I got to admit to these guys that I don't know how to put in a headlight bulb. No idea. I don't know how to do this. And then I was like, oh, I was angry that I was being told to do something that would then lead me to do something that acknowledges that I'm weak or insignificant or insufficient. And I was afraid of being weak and vulnerable in front of other guys. And this
Gotcha.
fear and that anger was an emotion to protect me from my fear. And my fear was an
Mm-hmm.
emotion to protect me from my insecurity. And my insecurity was an emotion designed to protect me from not being accepted by humans. And these guys in AutoZone going, you don't know how to fix a headlight? Come on, man. Or whatever I think they would think in their head. So once I questioned these emotions and kind of spoke to it, I kind of giggled to myself like, huh, oh, so should I get a citation? Or should I just go and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you teach me? And so then I
Uh-huh.
went to Advanced Auto Parts and they got the part and the guy was very nice and I learned something new I didn't know before. And so in those moments where that fight or flight is triggered, for me, it helps to question and to get in this practice of self-inquiry and to really, if you want to change the results you're getting in your life, then you first have to reflect and understand how you're getting the current results you're getting in your life. Like, if you can
That's brilliant.
understand why what is happening is currently happening, then you can start to see where it is that you tweak to get a different result. So I think if people and we're so programmed in this world because we have our phones and we have accessible food and drinks and mediums of entertainment that when we come into a moment that's uncomfortable, it's very easy to escape now, right? It's very easy to just get away from the situation, to get away from the emotions, to deflect, avoid. But if you can just stop and see what's happening, even if you don't have the ability to change it yet, if you can just say, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really feeling angry right now. I don't necessarily know why yet, and I don't know how to change this emotion, but dang, I am mad right now. And write out, I am
Mm-hmm.
so mad. Like I have a journal where sometimes you
Yeah.
open it and it just says, I'm so, and there's a lot of inappropriate language. I am so angry. I'm so mad. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to do. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know where to go. But just
Mm-hmm.
seeing it, just acknowledging, becoming aware that these emotions that you're experiencing, they're not red flags. It's information. And it's the beginning to
Mm-hmm.
healing, I think, at least for me.
It's beautiful, Philip. I mean, be curious.
Yeah,
Be curious. Be curious why you're feeling that way. I think that's such great advice for all of us is maybe you stop, take a couple of deep breaths, and then you ask yourself those questions. I need to be curious about this. Why am I feeling this way? And allow your mind to explore that. And then you got to the root of what it was. You were feeling insecure and maybe judged by what you thought the auto parts guys were going to
that's
do.
right. And I was
Or
angry at my wife for putting me in that situation when really all my
yeah,
wife was doing was telling me what I needed.
yeah, your lovely wife was giving you a reminder that this needed to be taken care of.
And that
But
happens a
it
lot
was,
in our life where we our anger misses. We project our anger and frustration to the wrong people. Every human is just trying to meet their needs. Even the guy that cuts
right.
you off in traffic or the person that calls you an expletive, in that moment, they believe that the best way to meet their need is to call you something inappropriate or whatever it is that someone's done to you. It doesn't make it right. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't justify it. But what this has helped me to realize is we are all humans desperately trying to meet our needs and bumping up against other humans trying to meet their needs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's nothing personal. If people treat you a certain way, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because they're hurting. And it doesn't make it right.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't treat you that way. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for me, having more of that empathetic, compassionate view of humans kind of helps me to see things as they are and not take things so personal, and the people around you, and that's the hardest part is feeling isolated. Sometimes when we're in a poor mental or emotional state, we tend to isolate ourselves, and it's because we assume people around us either don't love us or don't want us or are trying to hurt us. Really, they're just trying to meet their needs, and the last thing we need is to be isolated. And so,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I'll get carried away if you don't stop me. But yeah,
I think that is there's a beautiful threads there to end on of compassion for self and others, empathy for self and others, and understanding that we are all on this spinning ball trying to understand our self-worth, trying to make it through another day with love and hope and gratitude in our hearts. And sometimes we're going to fail miserably at that, but we allow ourselves the chance to get up and do better the next day or extend grace to someone who is missed the mark. So I think that's a beautiful note to end on.
yeah.
And you've had so many gorgeous words of wisdom today. No wonder you're a songwriter. Thank
Oh,
you for sharing them so
thanks,
freely
Candy.
with us.
Yeah,
It's just been an absolute pleasure to be able to spend time with you and learn about your journey and just you've shared all your words of wisdom. So thank you so much for being with us
you're
today.
welcome, Candy. The pleasure's all mine. Thanks for listening. It's great to connect with you and meet you.